Hey now, welcome to the Deadology Podcast from Pencil Hill Studio, New Paltz, New York. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. This is Season 3, Episode 11 of the podcast. And today we got two things lined up for you. One is Mik Bondy of the Garcia Project. He is going to join us in a conversation. We're going to get to that in a minute or two. Garcia Project has a big East Coast tour, days between coming up in August. A lot of great shows to announce and talk about. And also, being that's July 4th, 2025, this is the 50th anniversary of the Legion of Mary show from the Great American Music Hall in San Francisco. And for me, this is the best Legion of Mary show ever. And we're going to get to some audio highlights of that and talk about that one a little bit. And July 4th, man, I just got to reflect on, here I am on July 4th, reflect on what a great day it is for Deadology. So many awesome Dead shows and, of course, that Legion of Mary Garcia show. But memories, Buffalo 86, July 4th, 86, that Coal Rain Fire, Samson Wheel, Miracle, Uncle John's, Essential, Grateful Dead. As good as it got in the year 1986, and my last great memory of Jerry Garcia before the coma. So yeah, it's a very memorable show for me. And then 1987, also that July 4th, 86 was the first time I saw Dylan. Dylan and Tom Petty played after the Grateful Dead on that day. A year later, Dylan and the Dead, Foxborough. That's the first Dylan Dead show. And then 2 years later, I was in Buffalo for a Grateful Dead show. That one's captured on an official release. Another great show, Hot Deal, Morning Dew. I believe there was a Watchtower at that show also. So July 4th, Grateful Dead, perfect together. And before we go to Mik Bondy of the Garcia Project, I just want to give you a taste of how good Garcia was 50 years ago today. This little, it's not little, it may not be long, but it's an enormous guitar solo from Garcia. It's on it's from a song called Every Word You Say. Jesse Winchester wrote it. And Garcia was just incredible on this night. And this ought to make your head spin. It's an insane guitar solo. And then I'm going to segue right into my Zoom call with Mik Bondy. So enjoy. right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us on the podcast. Very excited to have him here today. Mik Bondy from the Garcia Project, lead guitarist, lead singer of the band. Mick, how you doing, buddy?
Good, Howard. How are you today?
Awesome. Everything's great. Yeah, I'm sure my audience is going to love hearing from you, having you on the podcast. So thanks for
I'm
joining
glad
us.
to be here. Great to talk with you. Thanks for having me on. We're super stoked about what this year is bringing for us musically, and just happy to talk to you about it and talk about Jerry.
Yeah,
That's why we're here.
a lot of talk about Jerry. It never stops, man.
I'm telling you. It's funny. A few years ago when Phil was still alive, Kat and I were hanging out at Terrapin Crossroads.
By the
Uh,
way, Kat's
oh,
the singer in your band, right? The female,
Yeah, Kat
correct?
Walkerson and I kind of got this whole thing rolling, and she's my partner in life and my partner in the band, and
Beautiful.
she's amazing. She's an angel. Anyway, we're hanging out in at Terrapin Crossroads, and we're doing some shows there and everything. And one night, Phil's watching us play acoustically, and gave us a little cheers at the end of the set and everything. And we're like, Phil, what did you do to us? And he's like, and he turned and looked straight at us and said, "What did you guys do to us, man?" It was great, but that whole experience with the Grateful Dead and Jerry Band was something that, I mean, obviously has shaped a lot of people's lives and really changed some lives. When I found Jerry Garcia Band, my first Grateful Dead concert, Howard, was 1987.
Oh, so
Roger,
you're a young man. I got you beat by a few years.
yeah, I'm a very young man. I like that. Was the Silver Stadium, Rochester, New York.
That's a good show. That's a
Opened with Hell in a Bucket, right out of the gate. Those days were it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was right in the front row. And anyway, after the show, my friend said to me, What'd you think of the show?" And I said, "Well, it was great, but imagine if Jerry sang all the songs." And he looks at me and he's like, "Why don't you go see Jerry Band?" I'm like, "What? He's a Jerry Band?" And I was, I went and found Jerry Band, and no internet, of course, so we're like, finding out where Jerry Band's playing. And I went to Great Woods in Mass and saw the two Jerry Band shows back to back. And Mission in the Rain, man, hooked me,
yeah.
Just like, oh, and you know, talk about Jerry Band shows versus the Grateful Dead. I mean, I always enjoyed going to see the Grateful Dead, after that. But I went less and less. I did Jerry Band tour after that. And there's a different vibe, a different feeling at Jerry Band shows than there were with the Grateful Dead. I mean, Cat always said, the Grateful Dead was Saturday night, Jerry Garcia Band was Sunday morning. Uh,
Nice.
and and so that whole vibe, that whole experience, that feeling you get when you're at a Jerry Band show is really what the Garcia Project's all about. I mean, we could play the same songs, play the right notes, the correct arrangements, have the same gear and everything. But it's really about creating that feeling, and that comes from the audience as well as us. And when it happens, it's one of those things where you just like, you take a deep breath and you're just like, there it is, and you just feel it, and you're just like, man, this is great.
Yeah. Unexplainable, but when that happens, it's like this is what it's all about, man.
Right.
That's
And so the Garcia Project is a vehicle for that. And we recreate shows because we've kind of found a formula to kind of tune into that feeling. I mean, we're all decent musicians and singers and everything, and we listen to Jerry Band, all day, every day. It's a sickness. Um, but uh, um, but that's just a vehicle to create that feeling. And when it happens, it happens. When it doesn't, it's still a fun show and it's entertaining or
it might be
whatever.
happening for other people and you don't even realize it.
Exactly. Everybody's got a different vibe going on and everything when the show hits. But that's really what we're after with it. And we're finding that as we do it more and more, it happens more and more often, and it's exciting. This past tour, we've already done. Oh, actually, at the end of our Days Between show, we'll have done more shows than we did last year altogether. So we're like ramping up, the amount of shows we're doing. And everybody in the band is kind of getting connected and tuned into that, making that vibe happen. And we're just real excited about this year. It's
Yeah.
we've got a huge show coming up on Jerry's birthday this year. It's 30 years since he passed. It's 15 years since we started the band, and we're playing this 1,200 seat theater in Woonsocket called the Stadium. And we've got an incredible one of those, when you hear what show it is, you're like, yeah, that was a pretty special
So
show.
that's August 1st, Woonsocket.
That's August 1st.
Oh,
Yeah.
I might have to go to that show. You just sold me on, on the show.
You
I'm
know,
like, yeah,
it's an amazing theater. We've played there a few times before. I want to tell you too that we've been doing this for 15 years, and we played this, I think, 5 years ago. We did our 10-year anniversary at this place, and it was the first time that I had I don't, it's gonna sound kind of weird, but an out of body experience while we're playing. So I think we did a 76 show that night, and we're doing Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. And the solo section comes up. I close my eyes and I'm getting into the solo. And I just had this vision of walking into the stadium, but it was in 1976 and Jerry Band was playing. And you could hear the crowd yelling Jerry and stuff during our performance and stuff. People get into it, but I'm in the crowd and I'm looking up and Jerry's playing. And I open my eyes and
wow,
it's the end of the solo and I'm like, what the hell just happened here? It was just that, and it's that feeling we talk about, it's like it was there and it was amazing. And it was I get chills thinking about it, but the stadium itself is part of the magic because it's a beautiful historic theater that's been all redone and upgraded, and the sound system's amazing. The every seat's a good seat. It's one of those just great theaters that I don't think a lot of people know about. The people that know about it have been there and will go there every time, but the people that don't know about it really need to come and check
yeah.
it
I,
out.
I think I'm gonna make that show. And one problem I have with Woonsocket is tough to say consecutively. Woonsocket, Woonsocket, Woonsocket.
Yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is. It's a great, somebody told me that Woonsocket, Rhode Island had the largest per capita deadhead population, in the
must
cities.
must be a person who lives in Woonsocket.
It's probably a person who lives there that said that. But we get a nice crowd there and it's always fun.
Yeah, there's the East Coast. That's why I'm surprised the Dead and Company and the 50th reunion, they didn't do anything on the East Coast. It's like I think this is where more people are rabid about the Grateful Dead and Garcia band than anywhere else.
Historically,
Yeah,
this. I mean, with the Deadology and with all the books you've written and everything, and you're an East Coaster.
yeah,
When the Dead and Jerry Band came to the East Coast, they were like this, and then when they went back to the West Coast, they were just the boys. And it's interesting to see that. And even now, the West Coast, totally different vibe. I mean, we tour all across the country for the last few years. And we always do a this last year, Howard, we did a West Coast tour from San Diego all the way up to Bellingham, Washington. It was our border to border tour.
wow,
And the vibe is just, I love the vibe everywhere. Everywhere every town is different, really. But the West Coast versus the East Coast, the vibe on the East Coast, I explain it like this to folks that haven't been out there. As soon as you start playing a couple of notes, people kick off their shoes and are dancing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And on the East Coast, there might be
Shoes got
more
to come off for
there might be
sure.
more people, but they're all like, and
Then,
then you got to work them into it. And by the second set,
yeah,
everybody's
and then
aging.
they're screaming Jerry and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the excitement, the energy just it explodes there. But on the West Coast, it starts. Kat and I did a couple of shows when we were out there when Craig from Cubensis was still alive, and we did an acoustic show opening up for them, the first acoustic tour that we did. Just as an acoustic duo. We have a duo called Acoustically Speaking, where we do Grateful Dead and Jerry Band and stuff, and our own interpretations of it. It's a totally different thing. And as soon as we started playing acoustically, I mean, 200 people just start dancing in the room. It was like that's the
it's-
West Coast. And Yeah, so it's interesting, but it's why they didn't come. Maybe they will do something on the East Coast. You never know what's going to happen with
Yeah,
them.
it was the 50th and 60th anniversary. Just caught me by a little bit by surprise, just because I mean it is a hassle to go to San Francisco, rent a car, get do all that stuff. I still
Yeah,
may
parking
make it
there
out
is
there. Yeah,
always
yeah,
crazy. It's all that stuff. We've hung out a lot in San Francisco and the Bay Area over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, and um, yeah, we have friends out there that we can park. I mean, we drive a big camper van, and it's always hard to park on the West Coast everywhere you go.
yeah.
Um, but we love the West Coast, and I'm glad they're doing something.
Oh
It
yeah,
should
it's gonna be
be an
great.
amazing
People are gonna
experience.
love
For,
it.
for those of you that aren't going out to the West Coast, come to Woonsocket. And we got two shows before the first, the 29th and 30th at the Kate, the Katharine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center in Old Saybrook. Historically, the last few years we've sold out, every time we've played there. It's a 300-seat theater, so it's very intimate. And this year they gave us 2 nights, so we're going to do a different era each night. So that's another one not to miss. But
Cool. Hey, I know I'm definitely gonna be at Hudson Falls because that was the closest to me. But you
oh,
sold me on
really?
Woonsocket. I think you're gonna have I'm gonna have a religious experience if I go to Woonsocket. So I got to check that one out.
I think you're
Yeah,
going to have a good time there. Hudson
that
Falls
that's
is cool too, though. It's
yeah,
a
that's a great tour though. Like doing a days between tour, very very great idea. It's perfect. So
Well, it was many years ago when we started the band, and we were mostly doing what kind of other bands were doing, just kind of playing regionally and around, and every time August came up, it was kind of like festival season, right? And and we always, I mean, Jerry's birthday and Jerry's Memorial Day on the 9th, those were always, I mean, those are high holy holidays for us,
it's
as
amazing. The
Jerry
Dead
had.
never played on August 9th. There was like 4 dates they didn't play. August 9th was one. The Grateful Dead never played on that date.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jerry Band, there's a couple Jerry Band shows from
from
the
August
night.
9th. Yeah.
Yep, and the first, which is kind of fun. We've done kind of some of those shows in the past, but being able to make music and celebrate Jerry from the first through the ninth, and it's moved to just before the first and a week after the ninth, but um, it's something that we look forward to every year, and the fans do too.
Cool. Hey, Mick, I got to ask you, could you do me a favor? Could you take me back to the beginning of the Garcia Project, how it came about when you guys first started, and
Sure.
what your thought process was, and because I don't know the story of where you came from at the beginning, so I think that would be
Well,
cool to hear.
yeah, so I told you how I found Jerry Garcia Band and everything, and how I became a devoted Jerry Garcia Band fan and was on most of the East Coast tours, throughout the whole time. Um, so when Jerry died, I mean, everybody kind of did their own thing for a while, it seems. During that time, I started playing music. In a very progressive religious organization, let's call it a church, a Christian church.
The
And
music must have been kick ass.
it was fun. I
Yeah,
played percussion for a while, and then I brought my guitar in, and during we did a lot of kind of improvisational movement music, like spiritual music that while some preaching was going on, that just kind of ebbed and flowed with, it was really cool. I mean,
yeah.
as far as a religious organization, this was a really cool scene. Um, and I'd play like licks from songs, from Dead songs, and every once in a while you'd see somebody in the congregation kind of pick their head up and go, "What was that?" But anyway, I met this guy who was playing Hammond organ. He was a dentist in the area. This is in Glens Falls, New York. And he had a Hammond organ, and he would play Hammond organ every Sunday. And we got to talking. I told him I love the Hammond, and I said, "Do you like the Grateful Dead?" And he's like, "I hate the Grateful Dead." And I was like, "Okay." So I made him a CD that I called Jerry's Church, and it was mainly the Melvin Seals era stuff. Because it had the Hammond in it. And I gave him this CD, and he came back, the next week, and he's like, "I love this stuff. This is amazing. This is so good." And it was songs that he had heard before, but didn't hear, Jerry doing them. And so we started just kind of getting together at his place and working on those songs and playing them. And I knew him, and I was just kind of working him through it. And, he really, I mean, everybody that hears Melvin Seals is like, wow, this guy's really good, So he was enjoying that. Well, fast forward a few months later, at that point, working as I was working in marketing and PR in a PR firm in the area, and we were doing a fundraiser for Glens Falls Hospital, and they wanted some kind of entertainment, and I have a band for you. It didn't cost anything, and I think people would enjoy it. So we did a fundraiser, and that was the first Garcia Project show. It was just at a small little place in the Glens Falls area. We played all Jerry band. We picked up a couple of kids from a open mic night that were drummer and bass player to just kind of jump in. So it was just a four piece, but we did all Jerry band, and that was kind of the start of it. And we all enjoyed it, and so we kept it going. Um,
So
my
the Hammond organ player stuck with you for a little while.
Yeah, and he stayed with us, and the first couple of shows were just kind of small little shows, but people were really enjoying it. I could see that, and I enjoyed it. And we didn't really have a name for the band at that point. And my dad called and he said, "Hey, how's that Garcia project going?"
Yeah.
And I said, "That's a great name. I think we'll use that." We put up a couple videos, Howard, on Facebook. This is when Facebook was just in its infancy. And Kat Walkerson saw the videos and she said, "Wow." She said, "This looks." She said she heard the guitar I was playing and the guitar parts and said, "Wow, I really like what's going on there." So she kind of joined in, and as soon as we met, it was great. It's like we were both cut from the same cloth, and we loved Jerry so much. And um, our first show with Kat was at the Dinosaur Barbecue in Albany, and sparks were flying, man. It was just amazing. So from that, we just kind of played more regionally and everything. And eventually, we had a huge following on Facebook early on, and there were people from the West Coast saying, "Come out and play here," and so we just started really trying to make it happen and everything, and getting new players in, and players would come and go, but we've got a pretty solid lineup the last few years. And the guys we have are amazing. We've got Jackson Roush on keyboards. He's from the Arizona, an amazing player. He can do Melvin, but he can also do Keith.
That's nice because you're doing both. You're
Yeah,
76 and yeah.
yeah, so we can kind of turn on a dime. Everybody in the band is very well versed in all the eras at this point. We've got David Alderman. I mean, I could go into a whole story about David, but we've known David since he was 13 years old. He came to see us our first year out. I think it was 2011. We played at Saratoga Performing Arts Center in the park. We rented a pavilion, brought in line arrays. We had about, I don't know, 400 people come and check us out.
Hey, that's nice to be in Saratoga without the huge crowds and
Yeah. Oh, it was
yeah.
great, and everybody was there to see Further. So it was
Oh,
just
gotcha. So you
it
got
was
to
a
spill
pre it
off
was
on
a
that even.
pre-Further show, so people were hanging out, picnicking and listening to music and everything. And so this kid comes up with his cousin, and they said, "Hey, we have a band called Dead Ahead, and we play Grateful Dead." And they're like 13 years old. We're like, "Oh, that's cool." Um, we kept in touch with Dave. He actually sat in for our old bass player, and played with us at Garcia's when he was like maybe 14 or 15,
Wow,
and played John Conn like you wouldn't believe. So
incredible.
we
Khan was so
wanted
amazing.
we wanted him in the band, and his folks were both like, "Yeah, I know you want him, but he's going to school." And so he went to theater school. Fast forward, unfortunately, both his parents had passed away. And we've always kept in touch and stayed with us. So he went on tour with us as a stage manager. Then he started singing with us because he's got this theater background. He's got this incredible voice, perfect pitch. He started singing with us. And then when Dan stopped playing with us, our old bass player who'd been with us for like 10 years, um, Dave stepped up to the bass, and it's amazing what he can do. He sounds, I mean, I sent you some links to hear
Cool.
some of the recent stuff we've been doing. His John Conn tone and playing is just ridiculous. So he plays John Conn and he sings either Jackie or Keith, depending on
That's
what we're doing.
yeah. Then once again, that's an interesting range vocally too.
It is, and not
Yeah.
many people can do it, you know. So we're happy to have him, and then we have Jack Betson on drums, and he came as a fan years ago at the Kate. We're playing at the Kate on Jerry's birthday, and the Kate, sit down crowd, mostly listening, but people do get up and move. Right before we started playing, him and his girlfriend run up to the front of the stage and go, "This is our church." And that's how we met Jack, and then our drummer couldn't make it on a tour, and we found out he played drums, and we're like, "Hey, can you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do it." And he's been in the band ever since. And
Wow.
we just all love Jerry Band so much,
Yeah.
so it's
Hey, I just started playing keyboard, man. Hopefully you discover me 7 years from now.
yeah, sure, man. Keyboards are, great. And the range, the diversity of keyboards with Jerry is so cool. I mean, even the stuff we don't do with, we don't do this stuff with Merle or Nicky Hopkins or stuff, but we listen to it. We appreciate it. We pretty much stick to the Keith and Donna Jerry Band, 76, 77. We've played with Maria Muldaur and Buzz Buchanan, and actually recreated shows that they were at, which
Buzz was a drummer, right?
Buzz
Yeah,
Buchanan was the drummer in 1978, part of 77 and through 78. Maria Muldaur was
legend.
77,
Yeah,
78. She's on the Cats Under the Stars
yeah.
album. She produced and sang on our album that we put out that launched during COVID, so nobody knows too much about it, called Spirit, which is a collection of Jerry Garcia's spiritual songs. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to that,
I didn't. I'm,
Howard.
I'm gonna check it out definitely.
There's we've got Maria came to us after doing shows with us. Again, we were hanging out at Terrapin Crossroads, went out to lunch with her, and she's like, you guys are so good. Why don't you put out an album? And we're like, well, Maria, it's a cover band of a cover band,
Yeah,
it's
that's pretty cool
we
hearing
just
that from Maria Muldaur.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it was great. I mean,
Yeah,
Maria is amazing. She kind of took us under her wing during that time, and she loved it when we met her. When Kat and I met her on my birthday in Massachusetts, she was playing with her Louisiana band, and we went up afterwards and talked to her, and she's like, John Conn was my boyfriend. I said, Maria, we know everything about.
hey, that
Let us tell you who we are.
Hey, one of the coolest Maria stories is when she was at Newport Folk Festival, and she asked Bob Dylan to dance after he went electric, and Bob said, "Maria, I'd love to dance, but my hands are on fire." He said something like that. He was like she realized he was out of his mind with the whole thing that went down at the and Maria asked him to dance. It was
That's funny.
yeah. Hey,
That's
so
funny.
once again with the Garcia project and recreating the shows, when did you jump into that? Was that right away or did it evolve?
No, no, we kind of stuck with a theme in the early days. Like we would do just Melvin era songs, or we do a whole show of just Keith era songs. There wasn't often that we mixed it up. Um, but we weren't doing full shows until uh, I want to say 2012. Um, and we're fans of DSO. And what they do and what they bring. And we saw that there was some magic with doing the set list. We looked at the set list that Jerry did, and we couldn't ever write a better one. We tried, nothing worked.
As part of the
Jerry,
genius of the Dead and Garcia, and it can't be overlooked the way they lined up songs. It was
yeah, and there's fans that said, "Oh, Jerry never wrote a set list." I've seen him. He wrote
yeah,
set list. I've talked to everybody that played in his bands. He had set lists for the Jerry band.
yeah,
He said this, even if he wrote it that day, this is what we're doing tonight.
and it could always switch, but yeah, it was yeah,
Yeah, but he pretty much stuck with it because the band wanted to know what was being played. Melvin needed to know what songs were being played. Um, and the ladies. Um, yeah, so we started doing that, and I mean, it makes me cringe, Howard, to listen to anything that's older than a couple of years ago. Even now, I'm like, oh, we could do so much better every show I listen to that we do. But where we are right now, this past tour is the best that the band has been. And I'm real proud of what we've been able to accomplish. Everybody's on point. And we're going after the arrangements, the feel. Not so much the notes. We're not doing note for note stuff, you know. There's something that gets lost when that happens. I mean, I've heard bands do note for note albums and shows and
Yeah,
stuff.
it's almost impossible
And
to do the shows. You could come
it's
close, but
interesting.
yeah,
It's interesting, but there's something that gets lost when you do that, when you focus so much on just the notes, you know. So we found that, you know, the arrangement, the feel, the sounds. That's why yeah, I mean, we have all the recreation gear, everything. Um, so getting the sounds right is a big part, you know. So
yeah, I love the like especially in the middle '80s, early '80s, they used to do this. Like Melvin would play, they would get like this little salsa or reggae thing kind of going in the middle of Catfish, and that's what Love Will Make You Do, those little rhythms and things. That's the coolest stuff, man. Have you guys focused on doing that, or
yeah, we've
during
done
Love
some.
Each Other also? And
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
mean, you know, like during They Love Each Other and say like '83, right? That clav sound, you know, where Melvin would just start
yeah,
ripping it. Oh yeah, you were all about that, you know. And I mean, I'm going to be the first one to say that I'm not Jerry Garcia. I don't have any delusions of grandeur. The guy amazes me still to this day. I put on Jerry Band and I'm like, even a song we've done a million times, I'm like, oh, how did he do that? What was that? You know, I mean, he was so good at what he was doing, and because it wasn't just the notes he was playing, it's how he played them, how his fingers touched the strings. You know, there's so much going on there that's just feel.
yeah.
And
It's crazy.
oh,
Like I was talking about this on my last podcast with Doug. We were talking about Sugar Mac from '72 to '74. We rock it out every time, but every single time Jerry would play something different. Like, how does he? And it would be so impressive every single time. It was just,
he never played the same lick twice. I
yeah,
mean, he used the same lick here and there, but it was, you know, it's like I go to explain this to anybody because I've talked to my dad was asking about that. You know, he's like, "How do you play just like Jerry?" I'm like, "Dad, no, I don't." You know, 'cause I'll do the same thing a couple times. I'm just not at that level. You know, I'm trying,
yeah,
but I mean, there's he was way up here. You know, but they love each other. Song everybody knows, right? So there's this little lick that happens after the end of the verse where it goes, they love each other. And it's kind of like, doodle-doo,
yeah,
doodle-doo, but it's always different. Listen to all the they love each other's. It's never the same, you know, and that's the mind-blowing thing when you hear that. And then you start listening to the little licks in between the verses on Cats Under the Stars,
oh yeah,
always something different going on there, you know, and that's what keeps us going, you know. We keep trying, we keep reaching for the gold ring, you
hey,
know.
hey, let me throw this one at you. So, you're going to do Music Mountain the next day. I don't know if you did it before or you're going to do it in
We
the
have, I
future.
love Music Mountain. Yeah.
Such a great show. So the night before, were you up all night saying, "Holy shit, I got to play the best Catfish John I've ever played"? Or yeah, does that like
it
yeah,
it happens. I mean, Howard, honestly, I mean, it every show, I mean, I'm like, who the hell am I, you know? It's like, how can I even go up there? I mean, I've had people come up to me and go, those are pretty big shoes. I'm like,
that's
I'm
silly.
just doing, I just miss it, man, you know, and I'm going to do the best I can do. And, you know, there's been moments where it's like, I can't believe I just, you know, I'll listen back to something I did and I'm like, that was pretty damn cool. But most of the time, Howard, I'm like, yeah, and that is the best Catfish, John. That envelope filter that cracks in, you know, we've done the show and we've, you know, there you can't as a musician in this band, you can't get too hung up on like these guys were amazing. I mean, even John Kahn, who's kind of in the background, right? Amazing at what's going on there. If you really focus, if you get a good recording and you listen to John Kahn, I
Yeah,
mean,
he's ridiculous.
oh, he's
Yeah,
ridiculous, you know, and the interaction between him and Jerry, you
yeah.
know, it just,
I think sometimes you can hear that best on like an acoustic tape.
oh,
You know,
for sure.
yeah,
For sure.
because
The acoustic stuff was just beautiful, you know. But there's a few recordings that we've got. I can't think of any just off the top of my head, but there's a few recordings where John's really high in the mix and it just floors you, you know, even in the 90s, you know, it's like wow, but in the 70s,
yeah. And even what you said before about trying to fill shoes, which obviously you don't. You can't go, you can't
Yeah,
attack it like that.
yeah,
Like John Mayer, who's such an accomplished guitarist, you hear him in so many different things. He's
yeah.
doing the best he can. He's doing great, but
He's
still,
doing he's doing what John
he can't
does,
fill the shoes. It's hey, it's
Glad
just
somebody's doing it, I'm glad
yeah.
it's keeping going.
If Jerry is looking down, he's laughing his ass off because he never thought that these 30 years later, people would be like still going nuts over the music, more so maybe than ever.
It's hard to believe, every town in America has one, if not 12 Grateful Dead bands, and now there's a bunch of Jerry Garcia bands starting up too. And I think it's amazing and beautiful,
Definitely.
to have a place, you can almost go any town USA almost any night of the week and just be like, okay, what's going on? Let's go hear some music.
That's what I do. I did a little Memphis, Nashville trip, and I was like, hey, who's playing out here? Grateful Dead band. I looked it up, and Steely Dead was coming through town.
Oh, love those guys.
Great, man. So I was so psyched I looked, but it's so true. Anywhere you go, you go on vacation, you're like, oh, what am I gonna do? Well, let's see what kind of dead bands in town, and you're gonna find something hot. It's
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Hey,
And so for those people that are listening that love Jerry Band as much as we do, I think you're going to dig what we do. We're not trying to just copy it. We're not trying to, do it note for note or anything like that. We're just trying to have a good time with it and feel it. And like I said, the musicians in the band, um, I'm surrounded by greatness. The guys are just so good. And I just love playing. And I mean, we've been fortunate. The first time we went to California, Andy Logan introduced himself to us. We didn't know who he was at the time. After that, he was the guy that bought Jerry's Alligator, and he started a foundation called the Grateful Guitars Foundation. But before that, we met him, and he was just a fan coming out to the shows. And he says to me, "How come you're playing this, cheap little guitar that you have?" I built my own guitar, and I was like. He's like, how come you don't have a tribute guitar? I'm like, dude, I live in a van, man. I'm just trying to make music. And so anyway, he surprised me with a phone call about a month later and said, "I'm getting a guitar made for you um, by Leo Elliott, Scarlet Fire Guitars." And I was like, "Wow." And so for Jerry's birthday in 2017, I got this beautiful work of art
wow, that's incredible. The
built for
Tiger.
my hands, built for my spec and
Wow.
everything, from Leo Elliott. And then he sent me a little bonus of Travis Bean. And I was like, man. And then next time we went to visit him, he gave me a wolf. And he had an alligator copy for me too, but I can't carry all this stuff around with me.
Wow.
But
That
Andy, I have to say this, man, for the listeners, the Grateful Guitars Foundation, they're doing great work. They've given guitars to so many musicians, and they're doing fundraising for other. I think there's a school in the Bay Area that they've raised money for a music school. Great organization. Andy's salt of the earth, good guy. Um, and if you want to check out the Grateful Guitars Foundation, check them out, and you'll see a lot of musicians you probably have known or have heard about, including Jeff Mattson and Rob Eaton, that have been gifted these guitars as well.
yeah, the of Dark Star Orchestra fame, obviously.
Yep.
I'm sure most of the people listening to the show know that. Hey, that's amazing. That's such a great benefit for you. I wanted to mention, get your thoughts on Melvin Seals. You got to play with him, right?
Melvin. So Melvin and Kat were friends before I met
Oh
Kat.
wow, cool.
Melvin played in our Kat played in Melvin's band when Shirley and Cheryl, the two singers, after Gloria and Jackie, Shirley and Cheryl were the singers in the Jerry Garcia band. And Cheryl was ill. So Kat and Shirley sang with Melvin for a few shows before Kat joined the Garcia Project. So she knew Melvin pretty well. They connected well. She became really good friends with Shirley and Cheryl. So when she came into the band, I think it was 2011, 2012. We would go see Melvin, and of course we'd be on the guest list, go backstage, say hi to Melvin, got to meet him. Um, and then we did a couple of tours where we opened up acoustically for Melvin and JGB. And that was when Dave Abear of Steely Dead was in the
Was
band.
exactly, I remember that.
And I love that band. Jimmy Tebow was on bass, Dave Abear was in the band, Shirley and Cheryl were singing. We were going all the time to see those guys, and we loved it. So anyway, on my birthday in October, they played they played a show in Saratoga Springs, Melvin Seals,
What date's
and
your birthday?
my birthday is October 6th.
Okay. I was just
And then
I was trying to think of that in Grateful Dead history. Go ahead.
and then they did this kind of offshoot show up in Saranac Lake that Jimmy Tebow put on, which was more Grateful Dead oriented. But I got invited to sit in and play a song or two. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I went up and it's on YouTube. It's a Ramble on Rose I did. Dave Abear was very gracious. I brought my guitar up and I did Ramble on Rose with Kat and the band. And one of the best things was I did this little lick. I have this little arpeggio that I do, and I probably do it way too often, but it's just a little lick I throw in. And I did this little lick at the end of the solo, and Melvin copied it,
Oh, cool.
and then afterwards, I was walking off stage. I was just on top of the world. And afterwards, Melvin says, "Hey, what'd you think?" And I said, "Melvin, this was like Christmas morning for me. This was beautiful."
Awesome.
So it was awesome. But so after that, Melvin did a show. We did a bunch of shows with Melvin. Love playing with Melvin. He's taught me the notes between the chords, and he is the master of the universe. He's just incredible. So yeah, we've done a bunch of shows with Melvin. We could talk about all those for another whole
Yeah.
podcast.
And
He
that's just such dedication, man. From the
did
time
it all.
Jerry died, he just stuck with he went out there and toured nonstop. He's the one person
Yep.
who is out there all the time. And it's, he's not a millionaire, or maybe he is at this point. I don't know, but
There's not a lot of
playing
money
these
in music.
small venues and playing these small venues and just that's heart and soul, man. Just love. I mean, that guy loves Garcia. It's so obvious, just the fact he goes out there and keeps touring.
He does. And what's cool and what I'm happy for him is that he's kind of morphed into doing his versions of the songs, the way he wants to do them. And people love it and I love it. I'm glad he's doing that. And I'm glad that opens up the niche for us to do the classic Jerry band, because
Yeah.
like we've done songs with Melvin and like those signature solos that he was playing with Jerry band, like for Lucky Old Son and for Midnight Moonlight and stuff. Everybody can probably mouth how the solo goes. He does a lot more with it now, and he's built it up to a whole different thing, which is great. And I mean, it was probably great for him, But that for us to do stick with the classic versions of those, it opens up that part of it for us. But
Yeah,
yeah, we love
I saw him at
Melvin.
the Bearsville Theater, and it was incredible. I always see him.
Yeah.
I'm never always amazed by it, man.
He is amazing, and with John Kay with him too.
They bring a couple dead songs in, and yeah,
Yeah, I could tell you a story about that too. When I met John and told him how much I appreciate. This was back in 2002. I told him how much I appreciated him playing with Melvin. They did a whole set of Jerry band, and that was the first I'd heard Jerry band since Jerry died.
wow.
And I said, "Man, you should do this." And he said, "Man, I'm playing with DSO, doing a lot of stuff." And I said, "Well, maybe I'll do something." He's like, "You should." And
Wow, he gave you the blessing, and
it was kind of cool. Yeah, it was neat.
wow, yeah, pretty awesome, man. So the upcoming tour, how many shows are you doing on the East Coast?
Oh, we're doing like 15, 16.
Wow,
We're starting in Connecticut. We're doing Garcia's in Chicago on the 15th. We're doing a couple of shows in
Garcia's in Chicago. I didn't even know there was one out there.
Yeah, there's
Wow,
one out there, and I think the seatings is already sold out. I mean, it's going to be a packed show, but tickets are still on sale. A lot of the shows do sell out when it gets close to time, so definitely folks that want to come see us should go to the GarciaProject.com and check out the show listings. But we're planning.
thank you, Mik, for joining us on the podcast. Really looking forward to seeing some of those shows on your upcoming tour. And once again, the tours, you can find that on the GarciaProject.com website, as well as links to videos and all kinds of cool stuff. I enjoyed Watching a Dear Prudence, Garcia Project Dear Prudence on YouTube last night. Band is in fantastic form, so I would definitely highly recommend going out to see the Garcia Project. I'll be there for a couple of shows. And also I wanted to thank Mr. Bondy for coming up with the name, the Garcia Project. Great story there. And also for raising a good kid. So yeah, Mik's music is definitely making a lot of people happy, keeping the inspiration of Jerry Garcia flowing. And it's flowing stronger than ever. Here we are 50 years later talking about a great Garcia show from the Great American Music Hall, San Francisco, July 4th, 1975. So that you heard Every Word You Say, incredible guitar solo from Jerry there. The second set of this, there's like two songs from the second set, which are hands down best ever versions, and that's one of them. So the first set of the show opens up Feel Like Dynamite, a song that Merle sang, cool tune. Someday Baby, one of the great Garcia tunes that made it onto the Keystone album, as well as did That's Alright Mama, which followed Someday Baby. Then you get the classic Mississippi Moon, and the first set closes out with Boogie On Reggae Woman, the Stevie Wonder tune. So a great start to the show, but the second set is off the charts at this Great American Music Hall show. By the way, this show is like it takes up 3 CDs, so it's 3 hours long, which is incredibly long for any kind of Garcia show from any period. So they were really obviously into it this night. Legion of Mary was coming to an end. I think there was only 2 more shows that they played, and then it officially was pretty much the Jerry Garcia band from then on, with the exception, I think there was Reconstruction was the name of the band for about half a year in 79. But moving forward would be the Jerry Garcia band. I like the Legion of Mary experiment, getting the horns in there, but at times it dragged out. On certain songs, it dragged it out a little bit, I thought. So, yeah, it was just, if you're going to have a horn player playing with Jerry Garcia, Branford Marsalis is like the top pick. You know, it's obviously he was too young to be joining him in 75, but it's, basically when I'm listening to Legion of Mary, sometimes I think it's dragged out a little bit too much because you got the great solos from Merle, and you can't wait to get back to Jerry. So from moving forward, they were Jerry Garcia band, but man, this show, it's a great way to go out, a great testament to Legion of Mary. First song of the second set, Tough Mama. This is, in my opinion, the greatest Garcia cover of a Bob Dylan song, maybe the greatest cover of a Bob Dylan song ever. It's amazing, and I'm going to play the end of it, which has one of the hottest guitar solos Garcia's ever played on any song, and even the ending, he's crushing it at the end, in between the lyrics. This is just phenomenal. Jerry at the top of his game.
Day on the countryside, it was harder than a crotch. I stood alone upon a ridge, and all I did was watch. Tough mama, it must be time to carve another notch. Prison walls are crumbling down, there is no end in sight. Gained some recognition, but I lost my appetite. Tough mama, meet me at the border late tonight.
A truly astounding performance from Garcia and the Legion of Mary there to open up set 2, July 4th, 75 in the Great American Music Hall. The way Jerry covers tunes, it's just such a unique way of doing it. Like when you listen to Weir cover a Dylan song, I love the way he covers Dylan songs as well. He'll pretty much stay true to the way Dylan did it, maybe add a little bit, but everything will be in the same vein as the way Dylan did it. But man, when Jerry takes a tune, it doesn't matter if it's by Dylan or whoever, he breaks the microscope out, finds things in there that the original artist didn't find or didn't take the time to explore. Jerry will take, a song like Tough Mama, a nice little 4-minute song with 5 verses and no real jam. I mean, you got a little harp from Dylan in the beginning and some organ from Garth Hudson at the end, but pretty much it's just Dylan ripping off one of his greatest songs. I think it's a very underrated song. Garcia fell in love with it right away, performing it in 1975, a year after it came out on the album. He knew it was a great song right away, and he just finds the groove, and he loves the song so much that he'll take it and turn it into a 12-minute masterpiece, just break out the microscope, pull it into the lab, and go to work. And yeah, just amazing when he does the songs like that, Dear Prudence. But that period in Dylan's career, Garcia absolutely loves Planet Waves and Blood on the Tracks. I mean, from Planet Waves, he does Tough Mama, Going, Going, Gone, and Forever Young he's covered. And obviously from Blood on the Tracks, Tangled Up in Blue, and Simple Twist of Fate. So yeah, Jerry was all over that, and Dylan loved it, man. He said something to the effect that Jerry finds things in his songs that he didn't even know were there. And the way Dylan approached music, especially when he's on a songwriting role and creating so much great music like he did in the mid-'60s, mid-'70s. I think he had some great periods in the 80s as well. But he'll just do an album, and he doesn't even fixate on it for long. Like, he'll just forget he did Tough Mama, move on to the next thing, Blood on the Tracks, and leave it for everybody else to dig into. And Garcia absolutely loved these albums and did justice to them. And continuing with this Great American Music Hall, we're in set 2. I'm going definitely quicker than I usually do due to the length of the podcast. Second song is a Little Sunflower, a Freddie Hubbard tune, written by the great trumpet player, jazz tune. So obviously John Kahn must have been behind this. He was the big jazz aficionado in the group. Awesome performance here. It's about 18 minutes. I'm going to put some of that as the outro for the show, so definitely check that out. Yes, this Legion of Mary period has some cool tunes that you usually don't hear. That some are successful, some I didn't think worked as great, but Little Sunflower is awesome. I really like they do an amazing cover of Ain't No Woman Like the One I Got, the song by the Four Tops. I think that's from August 11th, 74. It's also on one of the official releases. Just some of these instrumentals are pretty incredible from this period. The classic Tore Up Over You, third. And as we heard earlier, Every Word You Say, Jesse Winchester, the fourth song of the second set. So Every Word You Say in Tough Mama, best versions I've ever heard of. And that's one of the things that really elevates this show. Jesse Winchester, man, I don't think I ever would have heard of the artist if Garcia hadn't covered him. He also did That's a Touch I Like, which is my favorite Jesse Winchester tune. Yeah, he didn't do it at this show. I don't think he did it with Legion of Mary, but it was more in the 72, 73 range. They did that a bunch of times. That's a great song. That's a touch I like. And My Problems Got Problems, fifth. It's Too Late. Another song Jerry just sings and plays on beautifully. Ends the set, and a Long Harder They Come encore for what's a 3-hour show. Just amazing. Garcia. In my book, Positively Garcia, Reflections of the JGB, I think I had this ranked as the fifth best song, not fifth best show. The actual number of the rankings doesn't matter. It's a show that I want to write about. So you can read more about that and some of the other great Garcia shows. All my books available on Amazon, or you could go to tangledupintunes.com for links to them. So yeah, that's going to wrap up the show for this week. Next week, 40th anniversary of Ventura 85. And I really love the July 13th show, which, by the way, was also Live Aid was that day. So I'll probably talk about that as a little bit, as well as the Great Ventura show from July 13th, 85, 40th anniversary. Once again, thank Mik Bondy for being on the show. That was a great conversation I thought we had there. And I want to get him back on the show just to discuss all kinds of Garcia stuff. That 40 minutes went by so quick. We barely scratched the surface. And hey, my email address, if anyone wants to reach out to me, catfishgarcia82@yahoo.com. I'm your host, Howard Weiner. Thanks for listening. Speak to you next week, and enjoy this part of this performance of Little Sunflower by Legion of Mary.